Alright guys, today we are going to be talking about the pre-production stage of the filmmaking process. Pre-production includes all of the things you do before you actually start filming your video. And for the purposes of this project, the pre-production activities will be assigning roles to group members and creating a storyboard. So let's take a look at those things. You'll start each project by assigning each person in your group a job. Obviously, you'll need to learn first what those jobs are on a film set. Well, first of all, the crew on a professional film set can have more than 100 people in it. Film crews include departments like sound, camera, costume design, and a bunch of others. Your film crew will only have 4 people in it. The jobs on your projects will include a director, a cinematographer, a storyboard artist, and a key grip. I'm going to give you a basic description of these jobs, and then you will learn a bit more about them in another activity. First, the director is basically in charge of the film. He or she ultimately has the final say on how the film is shot and edited. The cinematographer is the person responsible for how the film looks. They decide the angle and lighting of each shot. Cinematographers are also called directors of photography. The storyboard artist creates the storyboard for the film. You'll learn more about storyboards later in the podcast. The key grip is basically in charge of all of the equipment on the film set. He or she makes sure that the camera, microphones, lights, any equipment are used correctly and put away at the end of the day. Now, remember that you're working as a team, so regardless of what your job is on a film set, everyone should be helping each other out. After everyone has a job, you'll start creating a storyboard. Like I said, the storyboard artist will actually draw these, but everyone in the group will come up with ideas for each shot. As we talked about earlier today, storyboards are a lot like comics. They visually tell a story for a film frame by frame. It's always a good idea to create storyboards because they help you plan each of your shots before you actually shoot them. This saves time on your film shoot because you won't have to think about each shot while you're out shooting. And being prepared leads to a better film. Creating a storyboard is actually a pretty straightforward process when you have a template to work off of. I'll always provide copies of this template for you. Let's first take a look at a completed page of a storyboard so I can explain how to properly create one for yourself. Starting at the top, you can see that you need to fill out a basic heading. You will do this on every page of your storyboard. You will then sketch your first frame in the top panel. Make sure you put the number of the scene next to where it says scene. So for this one, it'll say scene 1. For the next one, it'll say scene 2, and so on. Your sketches don't have to be anything fancy. They can be stick figures. In fact, you don't want them to be so elaborately drawn that it takes you a really long time to draw each panel. Just draw a picture that shows a general idea of what you want the shot to look like. Next, write the type of shot it will be next to where it says shot. These shots will be the types of shots we talked about a few days ago, like close-ups, mid-shots, wide shots, so on. On the right side, you'll see that each panel has a box next to it that includes spaces for dialogue, action, and special effects. First, the dialogue box, you'll write whatever any characters say in that shot. The action box should include a brief description of what is happening in that shot. For example, Ryan chases Brian down the hall. Something simple. The last box is for you to list any special effects you might need. Now, you haven't learned anything about special effects yet, so this space can really be where you list any music or text that might need to be in that portion of the film. Once you've filled in all of the information for one shot, you move on to the next. I know it might seem daunting to put so much detail and thought into your storyboard, but I promise your hard work will pay off in the end. And one last note about storyboards. These are fantastic for planning, but don't feel like you can't change your mind during the filming process. If you realize while you're filming that you need to change a shot, go for it. So let's review a couple of things before we move on to an activity. I'm going to ask you some questions and I want you to think about your answers before we discuss them as a class. First, what is a storyboard? Second, what information should be included for each shot on a storyboard? And lastly, why is it important to make a detailed plan prior to shooting a video? Again, I'll give you some time to write down your answers and then we will discuss them together.